You didn't become cold. You didn't become arrogant. And no, you didn't suddenly stop caring. But somehow, after a despota espiritual, people drifted. Amizades faded. Conversations felt off. And you noticed something quietly unsettling. The more presenka you carried, the less you fit. What if losing friends isn't a failure of character, but a shift in conscientia? Because when the ego loosens its grip, when authenticity replaces performance, your inner frequentia changes. And not everyone can stay in the same vibracio. This isn't about isolamento by choice. It's about solitude appearing where noise used to live. A calm that exposes what was held together by habit, not truth. So here's the uncomfortable question most people avoid. Are you losing people? Or losing versions of yourself that no longer need an audience? If that tension feels familiar, there may be more paz interior growing in you than you realize. A despota espiritual rarely announces itself loudly. It starts quietly, almost unnoticed. Old habits feel heavy. Certain amizades feel forced. The ego begins to loosen, and with it, the need to perform. What changes first isn't your social life. It's your conscientia. You stop chasing approval and start choosing presenka. And with that, your inner frequentia shifts, subtly, but decisively. Before, connection was built on roles. Shared complaints. Shared masks. Now, authenticity matters more than agreement. And that new vibracio exposes which relacos were real, and which were habits. This isn't isolamento as rejection. It's solitude emerging where noise once distracted. A growing pause interior that makes some dynamics feel unnecessary. And once you notice that, it's hard to unsee. As the despota espiritual deepens, something subtle happens in everyday interactions. Old jokes don't land the same. Small talk feels strangely exhausting. And familiar amizades start orbiting at a different distance. It's not that you became distant. You simply stopped feeding the ego games that once kept things together. Status talk. Gossip. Silent comparisons. Your presenka no longer reacts the way it used to. For people still anchored in those patterns, that shift is unsettling. Your calm feels like judgment. Your silence feels like withdrawal. But in reality, your conscientia just moved to another frequentia. They may expect you to play the same role. Laugh at the same cues. Agree to keep the social peace. And when you don't, the reflexo can feel uncomfortable. So the distance grows, not from lack of care, but from a mismatch in vibracio. Some relacos dissolve quietly, without conflict. Simply because the foundation they stood on is no longer there. After a despota espiritual, people don't just see you, they see themselves. That's the quiet reflexo most never expect. Your stillness highlights their noise. Your presenka magnifies what they've been avoiding. You're no longer pulled by the same ego impulses. Less defending. Less explaining. That ease carries a different frequentia. One that can feel unsettling to those still wrestling inside. So narratives appear. You've changed. You think you're better. Not because it's true, but because the conscientia seeks comfort. The mind hates gaps it can't explain. Especially when authenticity replaces reaction. Your pause interior becomes a mirror they didn't ask for. This isn't rejection. It's a projection. A natural response when one vibracio meets another. And slowly, without drama, certain relacos step back. Not in anger, but in self-protection. After a despota espiritual, connection doesn't disappear. It becomes selective. You're no longer collecting amizades to fill space. You're sensing resonance. Depth replaces proximity. A few relacos begin to matter more than many familiar faces. Shared conscientia, not shared history, becomes the bridge. Conversations slow down. Silence is allowed to exist. There's less performance, more presenka. Less need to impress, more authenticity. These connections don't demand consistency for comfort. They meet in frequentia, not obligation. Growth is mutual. Energy flows without negotiation. You may speak less, and feel more understood. The ego isn't trying to be seen anymore. And in that space, a quieter pause interior expands. What changes isn't your ability to connect. It's your tolerance for what isn't real. And once that line moves, everything else follows. At some point, isolamento can be mistaken for loss. It feels unfamiliar. quieter, slower. But not everything that gets quieter is empty. Loneliness reaches outward, searching for mirrors. Solitude, on the other hand, settles inward. It rests in presença, not absence. And after a despota espiritual, that difference becomes impossible to ignore. You're no longer scanning rooms for approval. The ego isn't negotiating worth through reactions. Your conscientia feels complete without constant feedback. In that space, amizades aren't used to escape yourself. They're chosen to share alignment. Your frequentia stabilizes. Your vibracio softens. What once felt like isolation slowly reveals another shape. A deeper relationship with your own awareness. A grounded pause interior that doesn't rush to be filled. And from there, connection takes on a new meaning. Not louder, just truer. Most social spaces still run on invisible rules. Agreement over truth. Politeness over authenticity. The ego keeping everything familiar. After a despota espiritual, those rules start to feel tight. Not wrong, just limiting. Your conscientia no longer bends easily to comparison or status. You notice it in small moments. Laughing when it doesn't feel real. Agreeing just to keep harmony. Your body senses the mismatch before the mind does. Your frequentia has shifted, but the room hasn't. And staying present in that gap takes energy. That's where isolamento can appear, not as rejection, but as a quiet refusal to disconnect from yourself. It's not rebellion. It's alignment. A vibracio that no longer adjusts itself to fit old scripts. Some relacos survive that stretch. Others don't. And neither outcome is wrong. After a despota espiritual, the shift isn't dramatic. It's practical. You don't rush to fill silence anymore. Your presença feels enough. You notice how certain conversations skim the surface. They move fast, but say little. And while others chase noise, your conscientia listens for meaning. Disagreement doesn't threaten you now. The ego isn't fighting to be right. You can stay grounded without needing to convince. That alone changes how relacos unfold. You sense atmospheres before words land. Energy speaks first. Crowded spaces can feel heavy when frequentia doesn't align. So you choose differently. Not louder. Just clearer. Old rhythms feel tiring. New ones feel honest. And slowly, your life reorganizes around authenticity, not obligation. What looks like distancing from the outside is often deeper alignment within. With time, something becomes clear. You didn't lose the ability to connect. You lost interest in connections built on noise. After a despota espiritual, fewer amizades doesn't mean less love. It means less performance. Your conscientia no longer invests in maintaining what lacks truth. Some relacos deepen instead of multiplying. They're quieter. More spacious. They meet you in presença, not in roles. There's relief in that. No explaining. No managing impressions. The ego finally rests. Your frequentia settles into something steady. Your vibracio becomes unmistakable and selective. Not everyone stays. But those who do, stay for who you actually are. And that's the quiet recalibration most never talk about. Less crowd. More coherence. A pause interior that doesn't need witnesses. If fewer amizades feel like a loss, pause for a moment. What if it's not absence, but space? After a despota espiritual, life stops asking you to fit in. It asks you to stay aligned. To honor authenticity even when it narrows the room. So here's the question worth sitting with. Which relacos still feel alive in your presença? And which ones existed mostly to satisfy the ego? Notice how your frequentia responds when you choose truth over comfort. How your conscientia settles when you stop negotiating your vibracio. This isn't about isolating yourself from the world. It's about releasing the need for constant mirrors. Solitude becomes grounding when pause interior leads. And maybe the real shift isn't that people left. It's that you stopped leaving yourself. If this message resonated, share your experience in the comments. Have your amizades changed after awakening? What surprised you the most? Subscribe to Soul Awakening. Activate notifications. More explorations like this are coming.